To connect to your RMC motion controller for the first time, in the RMC Tools startup window, choose Create a new project, enter a project name, and click Finish. In the new controller wizard, choose Automatically Detect the controller information and click Next. Choose the connection method. Here we will use USB. RMC Tools will browse for connected controllers. Select your RMC from the list and click Next. Verify that the image matches your RMC and click Finish. RMC Tools goes online with the controller and uploads all the settings from the controller. The project pane contains all of the components of the motion controller. For training purposes, this controller has already been set up with a complete project that is ready to use. The Modules folder shows the controller hardware. This controller has an RMC75E CPU, a 2-axis MA2 module, an AP2 module with 2 analog inputs, and a D8 module with discrete inputs and outputs. Certain modules have properties that may need to be set. For example, the RMC75E has an Ethernet properties page for setting the IP address. The control loop page specifies the interval at which the motion controller runs its motion loop. And the controller firmware can be updated from the firmware page. In the Axes folder, the axis definition shows how the internal software axes are assigned to the hardware. In this controller, axis 0 is position control, and axis 1 is position force control. The Axis Tools window displays the current status for each motion axis along with setup parameters. In the status area, each axis has a command position, which is the final requested position, a target position, which is the instantaneous desired position, and an actual position, which indicates where the axis actually is. The control output is the voltage that the RMC is sending to the actuator. The status bits provide details such as whether the axis is in position or if it is an open loop or closed loop control. The error bits list various errors such as no transducer. In the axis parameters, in the halt section, each error bit has a corresponding auto stop that defines what should happen when an error bit turns on. The axes in this example project are in simulate mode, which simulates a real actuator. We can move the axes, program motion sequences, and even tune the axes while in simulate mode. Before making motion, the axes must be enabled. The enabled bits are currently off. In the Command tool, click the ellipsis button, expand General Commands, and choose Enable Controller. To send the command, click Send. The enabled bit for each axis is now on. Now let's move the axis. In the Command tool, choose the Move Absolute command. Fill out the command parameters. For example, a position of 1 inches, a speed of 1 inch per second, and acceleration and deceleration values of 100 inches per second squared. The direction parameter is only for rotary axes. This is a linear axis, so we will leave it at nearest. To send the command, click Send. The target position and actual position are now moving toward the command position. The control output is continually changing to control the axis. When the axis reaches 1, the in position status bit turns on. Let's see what happens if there's an error in the command. For example, a position of 30 inches is beyond the positive travel limit for this axis. After sending the command, a bubble opens indicating an error. To see the details of the error, open the event log. The event log records nearly every event in the RMC with a most recent event at the top. A Move Absolute command was sent, then an error occurred and the axis halted. The error is Requested Position Truncated at Limit. This indicates that the command tried to move past the positive travel limit. The event log is a very important troubleshooting tool. If an error occurs or something does not occur, look at the event log to find out why. Now let's look at ways to send commands more quickly. First, after entering or editing a command, you can press Enter to send the command. For example, if we change the position to 4, first press Enter to accept the edit, then press Enter again to send the command. The command tool also has a command history. You can select any recent command, then send it. Commands can also be stored as a shortcut command. The shortcut buttons on the top menu bar can be assigned a command. To assign a command to a button, enter a command, click the Store Shortcut Command button, and choose a number. We'll do this for 2 different commands. The buttons on the top menu bar are now black to indicate stored commands. Click the buttons to quickly move the axis back and forth. You can also press Ctrl and the number on the keyboard to move the axis. To send commands to multiple axes simultaneously, right-click the open space in the Command tool and choose Show Toolbar. After entering commands, click Send All, and the axes will begin moving simultaneously. Now we will look at another command. The open loop rate command sends a voltage to the actuator. It does not control the axis position in closed loop. First enter the voltage to output, then the rate at which to ramp to that voltage. Send the command. Notice the open loop status bit is on and the control output is 2 volts and the axis is moving. Now an error occurred. Opening the event log shows that the axis halted because it reached the travel limit. One final item. Once you learn the name of a command, you can enter it into the command box simply by typing the first few letters and selecting the command. Each command has a unique number, which you can also type to select the command.